The Truth About Austin's Amazing Bats by Ron Friedel. Question of the Week. How can unplanned genre expository texts tell about what certain things are and how they came to be? And where can you see a summer sky filled with 1.5 million bats? Austin, Texas is the place. They fly out from under the Ann W. Richards Congress Avenue Bridge around sunset. Just a few at first, like scouts sent ahead to see if the coast is clear. Then dozens more emerge, then hundreds, then thousands. The bats keep pouring out until more than 1 million swirl above the bridge like a bat tornado. Finally, they zoom off in all directions, while the spectators below reverberate with wonder. The bats attract an estimated 100,000 tourists to Austin each summer, bringing in close to $10 million to Austin's tourism industry. Every night, crowds gather on or near the bridge for the event. An imposing sculpture in the shape of a bat, called Nightwing, stands at the foot of the bridge, welcoming visitors to the site. Even Austin's former professional hockey team, the Ice Bats, embraced the creatures. The team's mascot was a fierce-looking cartoon bat gripping a hockey stick. Austin loves its bats so much that it holds a 2-day summer bat festival to honor the flying mammals. Let's think about, how does visualize? Spectators watch the nightly display from all sorts of places, high and low. Some watch from up on the Congress Avenue Bridge. Others watch from the lake below. The bridge spans Town Lake on the Colorado River, where people watch the bats from rowboats, canoes, and kayaks. There is even a riverboat that gives special bat cruises. Some people spread blankets on the lake's grassy shores to watch. Nearby downtown restaurants have tables set up on patios for viewing. When the bats come out, the guests put down their knives and forks to watch a breathtaking display of nature in the city. But once upon a time, Austin's bats were neither loved nor admired, and were breathtaking for a different reason. To a great many Austin residents, the bats were a bizarre and frightening sight. The bats were also a health hazard, they insisted. After some debate, a decision was made. The bats must be removed from the bridge or destroyed. How were Austin's bats saved? The story begins in 1980. That's when workers began reconstructing the Congress Avenue Bridge. The bridge is a landmark in the heart of downtown, just 10 blocks from the Texas state capitol. The engineers in charge of the project didn't know that their work would create an ideal habitat for bats. Otherwise, they would not have left so many openings on the bridge's concrete underside. The long, narrow, dark crevices became instantly popular with migrating bats because bats prefer to make cozy spots to roost and raise their young. Most of the bats are pregnant females. In March, they fly north from Mexico to give birth and raise their young, called pups. That's why in August, the bridge's bat population of 1.5 million is double what it was in March. Austin's human population is about 740,000. That means that in summer, Austin has twice as many bats as people. Let's think about, what can you do to better understand why were so many people so scared of the bats beneath the bridge? The reasons are based on fear and misinformation. Fear of the dark is one reason. Many children and even some adults are afraid of the dark, and bats are creatures of the night. During the day, they inhabit dark spaces such as caves and tunnels. At night, they come out to hunt. Bats' anatomy and appearance scares some people too. with their pointed ears and noses and sharply curved wings. And when people think of bats, they often think of vampires, mythical creatures that drink blood. Or they picture a great big bat flying blindly at them and getting all tangled in their hair, or biting them and giving them rabies. Austin resident Mary Murphy remembers how fearful Austin residents used to be. For years, local newspapers had carried headlines like, "Bat colonies sink teeth into city," and "Mass fear in the air as bats invade Austin," she writes. Misinformation abounded, and the bats that made Austin, Texas, their summer home were regarded as something to be eliminated, not as something wonderful to see. Ms. Murphy belongs to Bat Conservation International, BCI. BCI's mission is to teach people the truth about bats and to protect and conserve bats' habitats. BCI moved their headquarters to Austin in 1986. One of their goals was to protect the bats that spent summers under the Congress Avenue Bridge. Let's think about what essential information. There's a saying that goes, "The more you know about bugs, the less they will bug you." The same can be said of bats. That's why BCI members told Austin residents all about the bats under the bridge. Their plan: bring all the fears and misinformation about bats out into the open, and then show Austin's residents what bats are really like. Then they will learn to like and even love the bats. With this plan in mind, BCI members set to work spreading the truth about bats. Yes, they told Austin residents there are such things as vampire bats. They drink the blood of birds, goats, and cattle. First, they lick the animal's skin in a spot where the blood vessels are close to the surface. Then they bite the skin and drink. A vampire bat will drink about 4 teaspoons of blood per day. But no, they do not prey on humans, and there are no vampire bats in Austin. No, they told residents, a bat will not fly into your hair. Bats are not blind. They can see just as well as opossums, raccoons, and other animals that come out at night. Plus, bats use sound as well as sight to get around. They send out squawks and squeals through their noses and mouths. The sounds are so high-pitched that humans can't hear them. When the sound waves hit something, they echo back to the bat. Bats' ears are set wide apart to help pick up the echoes. This special skill is known as echolocation. Ecologist Paul Garrett writes, "I observed this amazing ability in the attic of a historic church in Pennsylvania." No, they told residents, a bat will not fly into your hair. Bats are not blind. They can see. Where I stood among a colony of 10,000 little brown bats. I watched them fly around the small space, and they never collided with one another, the walls or columns, or my hair. Yes, BCI members said bats can carry rabies, a serious disease. But so can dogs, cats, raccoons, and foxes. Raccoons are to blame for half of the rabies cases in the United States. Bats, on the other hand, hardly ever carry the disease. And bats do not want to bite you or get tangled in your hair. Bats are shy and gentle creatures. People who come out to watch them on summer nights have nothing to fear. The Austin bats are a species called Mexican free-tailed bats. Free-tails are medium-sized bats with bodies that are around 3.5 inches, 9 centimeters long, and they weigh about half an ounce, 1/32 of a pound. The free-tails migrate each spring from central Mexico to roosting spots all over the southwestern United States. Bats live in big groups called colonies. The 1.5 million Austin bats make up the largest urban bat colony in North America. But overall, free-tail populations in America are in trouble. Each year, more of them are killed. Some die from the poisonous pesticides farmers spray on their crops. Others die or become homeless when people destroy the caves, old buildings, and bridges where they roost. Austin's love for the bats is vitally important because it results in an undisturbed free-tail colony. Having so many bats in Austin has many benefits, and BCI members educated the public about these benefits. Like honeybees, bats help plants grow by pollinating flowers and scattering seeds. They also help control costly crop and yard pests. When Austin's bats go hunting at night, their prey is flying insects. Their echolocation skills make them expert bug hunters. The echoes from the noises the bats make bounce back and tell them exactly where the insect is, where it's headed, and how fast it's moving. Farmers have a special reason to love the bats. Many of the insects they eat, such as cutworms and corn borer moths, are serious crop pests. Without the bats out there gobbling them up, these pests would be munching on cotton, corn, and other crops in the countryside outside Austin. The 1.5 million hungry free-tails cover more than 1,000 square miles of countryside each night, and they fly as high as 10,000 feet, 3,048 meters, to catch their prey. During these nightly flights, each bat eats close to its own body weight in insects. In total, Austin's hungry, free-tailed bats can consume up to 30,000 pounds of insects each night. Let's think about what important detail. The people who live in the city have their own special reasons for loving the free-tails. For one thing, Austin's bats eat loads of mosquitoes. If not for the bats, Austin's residents would have tons more mosquitoes biting their skin and sucking their blood on summer evenings. August is the best month for bat watching. That's when most of the young pups are ready to leave the roost and join their mothers to hunt. The bats usually start coming out from under the bridge between 8 o'clock and 8:30 p.m. People can call the special bat hotline for updates on the most likely time that night, and BCI members are at the bridge each night to hand out information and answer questions. They want to make sure that everyone knows the truth about Austin's amazing bats. What is it about the bats, besides the benefits to farming and tourism, that captivates visitors and residents of Austin? City dwellers often forget about the natural world beyond their streets and skyscrapers, but when they watch the bats soar, they rediscover the joy and mystery of nature. Some believe that observing the bats links spectators to nature, and that the resulting thrill is unforgettable. Photographer Tim Flack writes, "I've been fortunate enough to see a number of natural wonders, but the bats will stay in mind for the rest of my life.